special little anniversary for you. It is 10 years, marking the day that Victoria Cookies Newland achieved some notoriety by dishing out cookies in Kiev, and later would go on to achieve further notoriety with a telephone conversation between the then US ambassador to Ukraine, Jeffrey Piet. 8 years later, and now that YouTube video has been removed, where she coined the phrase F the EU, and has seemingly gone on to profit quite substantially from Project Ukraine and the grift. We know that Zelensky, of course, has profited handsomely at the cost of what's estimated to be, at this point in time, well over 500,000 Ukrainian lives lost in her endeavour to try and break up Russia and, well, pillage it in the same way that they have done for Ukraine. US corporations moving in, particularly with agricultural land, experimentation, as I've documented and seen firsthand in biolabs owned by numerous different corporations, including Pfizer being one of them. But I'm going to focus on two important documents today that you can look up and research yourself. One is from the Oakland Institute, and it's got quite a transparent title here: War and Theft, the Takeover of Ukraine's Agricultural Land. I'll go through just some key points here, but definitely read this report if you get time. I'll link them. I'll certainly include copies on Telegram, and I'll try and link them for you in the description of Rumble and Locals and on Patreon as well, so that you can go through and verify this information yourself. It goes through the main investment firms that have now purchased millions of hectares of Ukrainian land. It names some of the oligarchs that are also controlling. For instance, under the oligarch section, it says controlling 582,062 hectares. Kernel is the largest landholder and also the largest producer and exporter of sunflower oil. Its owner, Andriy Vyrievsky, is Ukraine's 16th richest person. I'm going to focus on Kernel, Kernel. Their country of registration happens to be Luxembourg. If you then go down into the report, it gives you a breakdown of the top 10 known shareholders in Kernel Holding SA. And number 3, you see, is Kopernik Global Investors LLC, owning 3.2% interest of Kernel Holding, alongside number 5, Vanguard Group, which holds 1.6%. And it's worthy of mention that Heptagon Capital, United Kingdom, 1.9%. And then it also goes into the top known shareholders in MHP, which is another firm. Number 2, Kopernik Global Investors. We see the same names being repeated here. Again, Heptagon, Norge Bank Investment Management, which is Norway's bank which manages the Sovereign Investment Fund. So I've given you just a couple of names here to focus in on, because if we then go over to Victoria Newland's filing from the 17th of the 1st, 2021, it's in integrity.gov, where you can look it up, the US Office of Government Ethics certification. In there we see some filings made by Newland, which have some interesting names, one of them being Kopernik. But it doesn't stop there, because we also have Pfizer, who is a client at Albright Stonebridge Group, which is also linked to Newland, as a senior counsellor there. Incidentally, we also have Amazon Web Services, The Economist, Lyft as well, Merck & Co., MERCK. We have Yale University as a senior practitioner in grand strategy. If you just only have to browse to see all the dots connecting. But yeah, Kopernik in there as just being one. Pfizer, as I've said, being another link. And then if we go down through her shareholdings that she has, it's worthy of mention as well. She has investment in Delaware Investment, capital investment firm. Delaware being where Biden, I believe, is the representative. Goldman Sachs, Hartford International, as well. Where's the next one that we have? Oh, BlackRock. BlackRock Global. Goldman Sachs, who are also investors in some of these equity firms that have invested in these agricultural firms. Harvard University being another investor. Imagine that. Lockheed Martin Pension Plan is a known past and present investor of NCH Capital. It just goes on and on. And again, then we have Kernel Holding .sa, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. So this is the financing of the largest Ukrainian landholders by European institutions and the World Bank since 2008 in millions of US dollars, and listed here is Kernel Holding SA at 208 million US dollars. The International Finance Corporation, $40 million total, 248 million US dollars from just Kernel Holding alone. Then MHP is also listed there at 592 million, and so on and so on. NCH Capital, 150 million. So there we have it. If you were wondering about the grift and who's profited, it's not just been Joe Biden, it's not just been Hunter Biden, but Victoria Cookies Nuland, the Wicked Witch of the West. So all that blood that's been spilt in Ukraine over these past 10 years, and I'm not just talking about Ukrainian blood either, I'm talking about ethnic Russians who Ukraine tried to cleanse at the behest of Cookies Nuland and her ilk. We can just guess that Blinken has also been included in the list of beneficiaries, and of course the trickle-down effect from 10% to the big guy, the little green man Zelensky, and Zelenskava, as she's been off spending it, have also benefited greatly from this. And it's horrible to speak about this in such a sort of flippant manner, but this seems to be the situation that we're at. This seems to be the grift that's going on, and I'll even posit that at this point, given the weapons contracts, it doesn't even matter if these weapons are not delivered to Ukraine, if these contracts are not honoured, which Ukraine has already complained about. Because who's going to litigate on behalf of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people if A, there's not many people left, and B, if the state of Ukraine no longer exists? The money has already been laundered, it's found its way into the pockets of Nuland, and the list can go on from there, and you know the usual names of these neocons and the deep state actors that are at play here. This is a huge tragedy, and it's something that shouldn't go unnoticed, unmentioned, and unhighlighted, in my opinion, on what has been a key event and day. Something that was warned about by Russia over and over again. Something, of course, that the Minsk Accords it had hoped to remedy, or at least try and come to some agreeable solution. Not to mention one of the biggest events of the Istanbul diplomacy and the agreement that was reached between Russia and Ukraine, successfully torpedoed by Boris Johnson. Then we have the complicity of the likes of Scholz. How that man ever became a political figure is beyond me, but I mean, I can't really comment when the UK has been represented by the likes of Liz the Lettuce Truss. So you can see where the complicity has come from the EU, the very same EU that Victoria Nuland said to F. So the US engaging in its nefarious activities, again at the expense of the Ukrainian people, being used as guinea pigs, the organ trafficking. You think of the scale of this operation, and the billions is literally now in billions. And now the scuffles that are going on about the future funding. It's no surprise that Congress is now has no stomach for it. Presumably the pigs are fattened up enough. They're like, well, we've got enough out of Project Ukraine. Let's now look at Israel and see where we can milk this cow and get as much money from them as well. And again, when we're talking about human lives here, this is where it really gets chilling. But that is it. That was my point. As I say, I'll link these documents so you can see for yourself. This is not exactly news. As you know, even Redacted have covered the land grab that's going on with the remnants of Ukraine as that state pretty much collapses. I think even Donald Trump Jr. was talking about the fact that Ukraine only exists, it's on life support, thanks to the US economy and the likes of Janet Yellen keeping it and pumping it full of cash. Let's hope that this new year, Ukraine withers away, that the funding stops. Because have you, as an American, benefited as much at all? I was going to say as much as Nuland, but I mean, I'm not sure many people have, not even Zelensky perhaps. But for the people in the West, has any of this been to their advantage? I think not. Not in the US, not in the UK, certainly not in Germany, where Scholz hasn't even made a whisper of complaint. They've covered up investigations into Nord Stream, the event that pretty much collapsed the German economy. But this is the key point to make, is Nuland couldn't have done this on her own. It's been with complicity across the board of these puppets that are in power, these sock puppets really, that are placed. Look at the embarrassment now being faced by Habeck and those people, like, and again Baerbock. I'm zoning in on the Germans, but you know, they're not the only ones. But that was a point I wanted to make, and I hope you follow up and take a look for yourself. And let's look forward to brighter days as we go into Christmas and the new year. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.